Hi everyone, I'm Jan Coldwell. Our first story today is a touching one. Our crew had the opportunity to witness and film a new foal being born. But during the birthing process, the mare experienced complications and she doesn't make it.
But our story is a positive one as we celebrate the brand new start of a new life. And for the surrogate mothers, though PAX is a little demanding, they're very, very glad that things turned out all right. A new life begins. And for all of us who love animals, it's a special time. That's particularly true on horse farms and ranches where the birth of a gangly, clumsy, adorable foal is a time of anticipation and often celebration. Occasionally, however, the arrival of a newborn can be traumatic and even tragic. Recently, our Complete Rider crew was shooting a piece at the ranch of one of our guest experts, Jeanette Coote, and her sister Mara. Suddenly, one of the ranch's mares went into labor. Quickly, our crew shifted locations to be in position to film the new arrival's first minutes of life. It quickly becomes clear to Jeanette and her assistant Heather that something is wrong. The mare is experiencing more discomfort than normal. It's discovered that the foal is both large and in the breech position. The mare is given a drug to try to reduce and relax her contractions. And Jeanette tries another trick.
I'll try the finger up the nose trick. Maybe that'll work.
The effort fails, however, and the mare's powerful contractions and need to push cause her to have an anal prolapse, a rare and often fatal occurrence.
I don't know, Jeanette. I think you better go phone Daryl, because I don't know that I can get this turned.
Now Jeanette and Heather turn their attention to the struggling and as yet unborn foal.
We gotta get it coming the right way, sweetie, or it just don't work.
They are able to turn the foal and force its entrance into the world.
Holy mother!
You poor woman.
Aren't you a big guy?
My God, that's a giant.
Yeah, we got ourselves a little boy.
The surrogate mothers have to act quickly and simulate the mare's early actions with her baby.
Start on that end.
They stimulate the skin and nervous system.
Yes, you are alive, little guy. You are alive. It was a tough one. Get out. It was a tough one. It was a tough one.
Their expertise comes into play again as they look for the signs of a healthy foal.
You take a look for symptoms like how fast do their ears come up. They should shiver. That's part of the normal procedure. What's their rate of breathing? They should start to struggle fairly fast. Any lack of any of those signs are a symptom that they were anoxic in birth. They lacked oxygen.
Jeanette and Heather realize the mare cannot be saved. Still, though she is exhausted and in shock, she is comforted at the sight and smell of her new baby.
Oh, poor dear.
It is critical that the foal very quickly receive the all-important colostrum, or first milk, from the mare. The surrogate mothers must force-feed the baby to ensure it receives nature's elixir of life.
Good boy.
There you go. That'll give you the jump start you need to get.
Yeah, and that'll warm up. It's a sugar hit, too, and then they stop shivering. And
Though they are saddened by the tragedy, a first in their years of raising horses, the adoptive parents devote all their attention and energy to the foal they will call Pax. For the next few days, Pax, like any newborn in the animal kingdom, will require round-the-clock care. He's a demanding little guy and needs to be fed every 20 minutes. Later, Pax meets his new roommates, another orphan called Simply Glorious, and a goat named Norman. Norman's job is to teach the two babies what being a four-legged animal is all about. They'll learn to eat from a bucket, to run around, and to play.
You know, I've been foaling mares for over 25 years, and I have never until him felt an upside-down foal. So it's luckily a really rare occurrence. And he's lucky we were there. Without help, he wouldn't have turned and she couldn't have gotten him out. He's too big in the shoulder. Like I said, it was lucky we were there, and very lucky that the girl that works for me, Heather, has quite a bit of experience in cattle obstetrics and knew how to turn them. I probably got it worked out myself, but I'm not near as good as she is. One of the reasons horse people make themselves crazy foaling out, you know, they spend days in the barn and nights in the barn waiting for their mare to foal, only to have to go to town for a day and have for a half an hour and find the mare has foaled in that half an hour that they aren't there to watch. Yeah. Typical trick from a mare.
It's a different life for any orphaned baby animal. But for Pax, thanks to Jeanette, Mara, Heather, and Norman, it will be a happy and healthy one.
Mara's comment just then is like taking 2-year-olds to the mall. Yep.
He had 3 white socks, a heart of gold, and an unbeatable winning streak.
Today our legend features a horse of almost mythical magnitude. His racetrack exploits set the thoroughbred racing world on its ear and gave race fans their first Triple Crown winner in some 20 years.
It had been over 2 decades since Citation had won the Triple Crown, and horse racing was desperate for a new hero. The cries from the masses wouldn't go unanswered. They would get a champion that would take the sport to a new level and bring it to the forefront of the North American psyche and that of the world.
Well, Secretariat was a homebred. My dad owned the mare, and we had a farm in Virginia, and he'd been breeding horses for about 30 years. He was foaled on the 30th of March. Beautiful, wonderful-looking, spanking chestnut horse with 3 white legs and a blaze, and always a dominant individual, always sure of himself, but not in a bullying way, just a confident way. But he was so good looking, we never really thought he'd be any good because they generally don't go together.
It wouldn't be long before Penny Tweedy and the world would realize just how special the big chestnut truly would be.
He won 5 stakes his 2-year-old year, and as a 2-year-old, he was Horse of the Year, which had only happened once before. It was a tremendous honor. And by that time, the fact that he was good looking, and he developed into a big, well, we'd call him a hunk if he were a guy, but he was attracting attention just because he was so attractive and so powerful on the racetrack.
However, Secretariat was not infallible.
And he started out racing in New York in the spring and won his first 2 races in explosive style.
Second, there goes Secretariat with a rush on the outside, getting the lead. Secretariat now in front.
The last prep before the Derby, he was beaten, and we were just aghast.
It's Prove Out in front, a 16th of a mile. Prove Out in front, Secretariat second.
The media was expecting just a super horse. And here he had feet of clay.
When Secretariat entered the 1973 Kentucky Derby as a 3-2 favorite, there still was a cloud of doubt that hovered over him. Out of the gate, he would break last. But then jockey Ron Turcotte started to pick up horses one by one as they moved to the first turn.
It's My Gallant, then Forgo. On the outside, Navajo, followed by Secretariat.
By the far turn, Secretariat powered around his competition, finishing 2.5 lengths in front of the pack. In so doing, Secretariat would break Northern Dancer's standing Derby record of 2 minutes flat by 3/5 of a second.
He ran each 1/8 of a mile faster than the one before, so he finished fastest of all. And that was just tremendously satisfying.
At the end of the Derby, all doubt of Secretariat's ability and status seemed to vanish.
Well, Sham straightens up a little.
At the Preakness, 6 horses left the gate.
And they're off for the early lead. That's Deadly Dream on the outside, Ecole Taj.
But here comes Secretariat. He's moving fast, and he's going to the outside. He's going for the lead, and it's right now he's looking for it.
Secretariat again dominated the backstretch.
But Ronnie Turcotte has his whip put away, and Secretariat has him put away. He's beginning to draw away. It is Secretariat. He's coming to the wire. He wins it by 2.5, almost 3.
And in one case, I was on the cover of a national magazine. He was on the cover of Time, U.S. News, and we were both together on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Well, that should be the kiss of death. You know, when an athlete gets picked up by the national media, he's finished. But Secretariat couldn't read, so he didn't know.
On June 9th, 1973, only 4 other horses would rival Secretariat for the Belmont Stakes and the third jewel of the coveted Triple Crown.
Finally, the moment did come, and he broke last, but then he had an inside post, so he went to the lead relatively early. And for a while, Sham, who had finished second to him in the other 2 races, raced right with him. And for a minute, I thought, well, maybe this is Sham's moment, and that's going to be okay.
They're on the back stretch. It's almost a match race now. Secretariat's on the inside by a head. Sham is on the outside.
Secretariat gradually pulled away from Sham, and he just widened. And the announcer's call was just, it's a classic. He says, Secretariat. He's running like a tremendous machine.
He is running like a tremendous machine. Secretariat by 12. Secretariat by 14 lengths on the turn. Sham is dropping back. It looks like they'll catch him today. As my Gallant is right to front, they're both coming up to him now. But Secretariat is all alone. He's out there almost a 16th of a mile away from the rest of the horses. Secretariat was in a position that seems impossible to catch. He's into the stretch. Secretariat leads his field by 18 lengths. And now Price is taking second, and my Gallant is moved back to third. They're in the stretch. Secretariat has opened a 22-length lead. He is going to be the Triple Crown winner. Here comes Secretariat to the wire. An unbelievable, an amazing performance. He hits the finish 25 lengths from back. It's going to be practically second. My Gallant third. Private Trail fourth. And Sham, who had it today, got back to fifth. An amazing, unbelievable performance by this miracle horse. And look at
People still cry. I still get chills when I listen. It breaks you up.
His career would end with 21 starts, 16 victories, 2 seconds, and total earnings of $1,316,808. Secretariat retired as a 3-year-old and unexpectedly died at 19 from complications of laminitis on October 4th, 1989. In an autopsy to clarify his death, one of the great horse's secrets was revealed.
After Secretariat died, they did an autopsy because they really didn't know what had caused him to get so sick so fast. And in the course of it, they found he had an extremely large heart. And that explained how he could run 1.5 miles in track record time with just going, in the Belmont, he was just going bloop, bloop, bloop. He wasn't charging or striding or struggling. He just was in a zone, as we'd say today. He just hit a stride that he could have gone around the track another time. And the reason was that with his large heart, he could process the blood and reintroduce oxygen faster than other horses. So he had this natural advantage. And there is research to indicate that that is a trait that passes from sire to daughter to her sons. And so it goes on the X chromosome. And so it's called the X factor.
Although Secretariat never sired a Triple Crown winner, his legacy lives on.
His sons were not nearly so good on the racetrack as he was. But the legacy has been in his daughters. His daughters are wonderful broodmares, and they have produced lots of good horses. And Charismatic is by a sire whose dam was by Secretariat. And AP Indy, he won the Belmont. His dam was by Secretariat, and that's where Secretariat will live on, in the pedigrees of his daughters.
Secretariat, listed as the 35th best athlete of the century and an unforgettable living legend.
What we're looking for in the sweat of horses are the electrolyte concentrations, and the electrolytes are things like sodium, potassium, chloride, magnesium, potassium. When they sweat, they really lose large amounts of electrolytes, or salts. And if they lose too much salts and too much fluid when they're exercising, they run into all kinds of health and muscle problems that will impede their ability to perform.
Flower has now been running on the treadmill for 10 minutes. At this time, Dr. Mike Lindinger extracts the sweat into a syringe for the purpose of transferring the liquid into a computer for analysis. By knowing what elements make up a horse's sweat, the researchers are able to design a specific Gatorade formula for horses.
So the composition is designed to get rapid emptying from the stomach, absorption by the intestine into the bloodstream, and from the bloodstream, then we can get distribution of the salts through the body and into the muscle, into the skin, where the salts and the fluids are needed. So we feel that to use this supplementation during exercise and during recovery from exercise, if they're depleted after exercise, really helps them recover more quickly after exercise.
This is the part of the show where we get to answer your letters. And this week's email comes to us from a young rider, Amanda Ripley.
And Amanda writes in with this question. I would like to know the difference between a standing and a running martingale, and what are they both used for?
This is Misty. She's using a standing martingale. What it does is it prevents her head from going up too high. How it's fitted is it goes from the girth in between the legs all the way up to the noseband. It shouldn't be any looser than up to the throat area or any tighter than an inch below. This is Lestara, and she uses a running martingale. This is used for the jumper ring, as the standing martingale is not allowed in the jumper ring. What it does is it gives me a little bit of leverage between the bit and my hand for when she gets strong. When you're fitting a running martingale, two things are important. First of all, the rein goes from the outside to the inside of the ring and then does up. And the other is important to have rein stoppers above the ring, so it prevents the ring from getting caught on the bit. So Amanda, hopefully this will help you decide which martingale is suitable for you.
So Amanda, now you know. And thanks to Gail Greeno.
Should be another fascinating show, so we'll see you then.
Thanks for watching.